Hey gang, let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar to you? Right, you are out on a long day's ride, maybe you got 500 or 600 miles ahead of you, or you're out on a long trip. So you get on the bike in the morning and you just put the hammer down. Right, you ride basically until your tank is empty, about 200 miles or so, and then you pull over, get yourself some gas, and then you're feeling thirsty. So you walk into the convenience store where you're stopped, right, and you go grab yourself a water. Once you get back to the bike, well, you crack that thing open because you're feeling pretty thirsty, and you start guzzling it down. Good stuff. Then once you're finished, well, you toss the bottle aside, and then you get back on the road, and you do another 200 miles before you stop again, right? I think this sounds familiar to a lot of us, right? This is the typical pattern that most of us follow when we ride and then when we hydrate. The problem with only hydrating when you stop, whether it be every 200 miles or every 100 miles, is that you just cannot keep up with the water that you're losing, right? Being out here in the sun, in a windy environment on a motorcycle, well, it's very dehydrating, and you need to constantly be replenishing your fluids. Doing it when you get thirsty or only when you're stopping, well, it just isn't adequate. And why is that important? Well, because if you allow yourself to get dehydrated, you can end up with headaches, fatigue, dizziness, right, and confusion. And those are all things that we don't want while we're riding motorcycles. So if hydrating only when you stop, only when you're thirsty is just not a good idea, right? There's no way to keep up with your necessary fluid levels, then what are some solutions? Here recently, Ryan over on the F9 YouTube channel introduced we motorcyclists to a new concept, and that is pre-hydration. The idea is that in order to combat these bad habits of riding for 200 miles without stopping and only getting water when you're thirsty, well, one of the things that you could do was to pre-hydrate. According to Ryan, pre-hydrating is getting up about 3 hours before you hit the road and consuming about 3 milliliters of water for every pound of body weight. And for me, that would come up to about 21 ounces or so. So basically, I would get up in the morning and I would have a big 16-ounce glass of water and then a little bit more. So the first question I have about this is, I'm supposed to get up in the morning and drink 20 ounces of water just in one shot. Because if you do a little digging, and what I know about pre-hydrating is that that's not the case. You should be consuming this 20 ounces of water over the course of that 3-hour period, slowly, right, before you head out on the road in our case, or in the case of athletes, before your event. The second question I had was whether or not Ryan intended this to be the only answer to staying hydrated while you're on the bike. Because he seemed to imply that this could overcome those bad habits of riding for too far and not drinking enough. And if that's the case, well, it just isn't true. In fact, athletes who use these pre-hydration techniques know that you don't stop, just before your event. You need to continually drink water through the course of your event. Now, of course, if you're sprinting or something like that, you don't do that. But over the course of the day, while you're out on the track, for example, or while you're out on the bike, you are continually drinking water to maintain that level of hydration. So to illustrate just how much water you're really going to need over the course of a long day in the saddle, let's start off with what happens when you sleep at night. As normal human beings, we sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. And during that process, we continue to sweat and we continue to breathe. And we lose water as we do so. In fact, over the course of the night, you will lose about a liter of water. You'll be about 2 pounds lighter in the morning than you were when you went to bed. So every day, to stay hydrated, you need to replace this water, and also you need to take in water that you're going to need over the course of the day. And for the average person, that would be about this much water, 64 ounces or 8 8-ounce glasses of water every day. For we motorcyclists, hydration becomes even a little bit more complicated. Not only do we need to replenish the fluid we lost at night and what we need throughout the day, we also need to add in additional fluid because we are out here in the sun wearing gear in a windy environment that is going to help to dehydrate us. In fact, on a hot day, if you're riding through the desert like I did last year, then you need to consume probably upwards of 1 gallon or more of fluid over the course of a long day. Next time, we'll talk about some tools that you can use to help keep yourself hydrated and a simple routine that I go through every time that I go out on a tour.